Welcome to the NAEDA Connect podcast series, where we will explore all the hot topics affecting the equipment dealer industry, from industry news, government affairs, and manufacturer relations, to business best practices, technology, and marketing for equipment dealers. Brought to you by North American Equipment Dealers Association, here to advocate, elevate, and educate. And now, let's connect.
Well, hello, and welcome to this episode of our NAEDA Connect podcast. I'm Larry Hertz, Vice President of NAEDA, and I'll be your host today. With me is Michael Newland, Vice President of Agriculture with the PROPANE and Education and Resource Council. First of all, Mike, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, great, Larry. Thanks for the invite today. So my background's, my entire professional career has really been in agriculture. So mostly on the input side of things, I've worked for some of the larger companies from a seed chemical standpoint. A lot of folks listening today would recognize those names. I've also done some work on data within the row crop industry, working on predicting corn and soybean yields across the U.S. And now I find myself at the PROPANE Education and Research Council, running everything agriculture related for those folks, and really enjoy what I do, and what a great industry to be in.
Well, that's great. And so out of your ag career, what's been the highlight? I'm sure it's working with PERC now, right?
You know, it is. I love what I'm doing. I get to work with farmers, on a day-to-day basis, and I've done that for 25 plus years, and it's a fantastic group of people. And I think the propane industry and really mirrors the farming industry and community. It's very community-based, a lot of great values amongst a lot of diverse people across the country, but everybody's got a common goal. And I think that's very similar to the agricultural world.
Yeah, excellent. I too love what I do, love working with dealers across North America, and it's really a lot of fun, and love the ag industry. So what about PERC itself? What's really your role and goals within the industry?
Yeah, so at PERC, I run the ag space, as I mentioned. So what that entails is working on promoting the industry, promoting propane within the ag space. We also do some investment from time to time in a company that may have the next best widget that would benefit our industry. We may take a position where we would invest and help that person bring and develop and bring that product to market. So we do a lot of product evaluation in the role that I'm in. But PERC in general, we're funded by the industry. So we're funded by the propane industry. Our primary goal is to make sure that the industry is up to speed on all the safety and technical training around our fuel. So I tell people all the time, that way, if your local propane supplier is pulling into your farm, your business, your residence, you have the assurance that they have the access to the best training available from anywhere. So the PERC creates all that training. We house it. Those folks are able to use that training material in any way, free of charge. And that's really our core mission. We also promote the industry through consumer outreach, similar to what we're doing today. Gives us an opportunity to tell about PERC, but more importantly, to tell people why we think propane should have a bigger role in today's energy conversation. So that's a lot of what we do. And then we've also talked about some of the dollars that we do invest on new product development.
Oh, that's excellent. Propane, as soon as I think about it, being I'm up in Canada, I immediately think of hockey and Zambonis and, that whole zero emissions or next to zero emissions. And I suppose that's really one of the real big pluses of propane usage, especially within a refined or enclosed space.
It is, and you know what? If you had not brought up Zambonis, I might not have remembered that. But you're exactly correct. I think the cleanliness is fantastic, and the way I talk about it, would you cook a hamburger or a steak over diesel fuel? And I certainly wouldn't, and I don't think anybody else would either. And that's why we trust propane to cook our food in many cases. But you're exactly correct. The Zamboni is a great example. A highlight in addition to that is really the forklift industry. All the forklifts running around all the large warehouses tend to be propane. Obviously, a lot of those or some of those are moving to electric as well. Some charging limitations are hamstringing that a little bit, but we can talk a little bit more about that because we're actually doing a lot of charging of forklifts and fleets with propane generators these days. Um, so yeah, the cleanliness, as I mentioned, the forklift, you mentioned the Zambonis, and I think that's really why our fuel never goes out of condition. I think some folks don't really understand that. So if you've got diesel equipment or if you've got gasoline equipment, especially in small engines, gasoline is not great because of ethanol today. If it sits there and doesn't get used, we have some issues. Propane's not that way. It's always ready to go. We burn cleaner. It allows for that low emissions, ultra low emissions, but it also extends a lot of the more maintenance opportunities that you have while you're running an entire fleet of tools and engines. So we've really got some really cool benefits from operational. Um, the air emissions, obviously, if you've got workers in a confined space, that's a huge benefit as well.
Yeah. So when you think about the emissions, you're talking about very low emissions. Can you give any kind of data or statistics or anything like that as you compare it to any of the other fuels or that are out there?
Yes, we've done some studies. We've got a lot of studies on the website. So folks would want to go to propane.com. We've got a number of papers there, a lot of white papers. One of the biggest ones we've done is we were involved in a study showing comparing diesel buses with propane emissions, school buses. What that study showed was on particular matter, we reduce PI 99 plus percent. So we really are just an unusual fuel in that regard. We can run inside. We can virtually eliminate particulate matter in that exhaust. We reduce SOx and NOx as well. So a lot of folks in the school bus industry and a lot of folks in the fleet industry are really looking at us for that opportunity.
That's excellent. And really kind of thinking about our dealers across the states, they're primarily farm equipment dealers, whether they're John Deere, Case, or New Holland, or Kloss, or AGCO, Kubota, you name it. Most are, selling large farm equipment, but they also sell a lot of zero-turn or side-by-sides or different products like that would be more used for, around the farmyard or around the acreage or the small farm kind of thing around the yard. I suppose there's applications, across, the network in a sense of all that equipment.
Yeah, there really are. And then a couple that you brought up, the mowing industry, we've got a big presence in the commercial mowing space. And I think that's an opportunity for me, especially in the upcoming year. We're going to have a zero-turn mower running on propane at the bigger farm shows. So we'll be showing that us off at Husker Harvest Days in 2024, but also in World Ag Expo in 2025. And we also have a John Deere Gator TX that's running on propane as well. Folks will always ask me, is that an option from the factory? In John Deere's case, it is. You can go to your John Deere dealer and order that propane unit. It will be converted at the dealership level. So it will ship to that dealer as a gasoline model, and then it will be converted by the John Deere staff out back that's trained on those systems. The other companies, we have conversion kits available. Every small engine that is, I think known to mankind, we can convert to propane. So that allows us to take an X-Mark or a Skag or whatever color of mower that you like and run it on propane. And folks will ask, okay, so why would you do that? Well, today gasoline in my area is $3.25, I think, for unleaded gasoline, and propane is significantly less than that. In addition to all the environmental benefits and the maintenance benefits we talked about just a little bit ago. So I think there's a lot of benefits. We've got a number of national mowing fleets that are on our fuel. I tell people all the time, they will never leave it. They are rock solid in their commitment to the fuel for two reasons. I think one, it gives them a great benefit on their contracting and responding and putting bids together for large municipal contracts. So I think it gives them a leg up there. They can talk about their environmental benefits. But then two, when the rubber meets the road, I think it comes down to price. And they're able to run their fleets at a significant discount on our fuel versus gasoline. And they're doing the right thing for the environment. So I think there's a lot of great benefits. Like I said, if you're out and about, happen to be at one of the farm shows, maybe look us up and stop by and take a look at it, and we'll fire one of those units up and let you sit on it.
That's great. So really the attrition, like, so once somebody started using propane on a zero turn or a whatever have you, they're likely going to stay with propane for the rest of their life in a sense.
They really are. I think the hard part, is the mental part. I can't take a can to the corner gas station and fill it up and get 5 gallons. I think that's the mental hurdle that folks have to get across. It's a very simple fuel system and fuel delivery system to have with the local propane supplier. It really comes down to there's about three ways you can get your fuel if you're in that situation. You can the fuel supplier could come fill your cylinders on site. They could set a cage there and just do an exchange program if you're a large enough customer, and we see a lot of that in forklifts. Or three, if you're a very large user, we could actually set up a dispenser, and a lot of our large fleet customers do that. We'll have a dispenser on their property. All their employees would be trained with our safety material, how-to type videos, and they can fill their own cylinders on site. So you've got really three options to consider. All three of them work very well. And like I said, it's just a mental hurdle to get across. But once you make the switch, we very rarely see anybody leave.
Oh, that's great. And I would think too that I'm just thinking of let's say there's a forklift customer. They've typically got the canister just behind the operator mounted there. They could easily just have a spare canister that's full, just like on your propane barbecue. You're going to have a spare 20-pound cylinder sitting around. You'd have a spare whatever they are, 50 or 80 or 100-pound cylinder, right?
Yeah, those are 33s on the forklifts, but you're exactly right. And I think the mower customers, that's exactly what they do. Gosh, if they're loading up, two zero turns for the day and all their string trimmers and all that stuff, they just throw it one extra 33 on the trailer and they're ready to go for the entire day. So that's exactly what's going on.
Excellent. And I would think from a dealer perspective too, to have propane as an option would be really high on the list for like you were talking more of the commercial operator, but for the homeowner to have a propane powered zero turn would be really kind of a big plus, wouldn't it? Because there'd be a lot of homeowners would be looking at anything they can do zero emissions, which is why they're maybe looking at electric, and maybe they really should be considering propane, which is a lot handier in a sense, right?
Yeah, I think you're right, and that's the one thing we haven't talked about. Gosh, we've got a lot of power, we've got a lot of torque on those small engines on our fuel. The duty cycle with electric comes into question when you start talking commercial landscapers. Can they run their entire crew for 6 or 8 hours of actual runtime a day? And there's some challenges to do that with battery. The homeowner's a different case. The homeowner. We think that market's really going to go battery heavier quicker than obviously the commercial mowing space. But there may be a solution coming on propane for the small homeowner as well, for that has that small subdivision type yard. We'll see if we can get that across the hurdle and get that to market. We think we've got a great solution there. But anybody that is mowing acreage on a residential or a farm, absolutely, a zero turn makes the most sense. That's why we're really going to push that across the shows, because I think we're missing a big opportunity with our ag customers. Everybody that I know in the ag space has a big zero-turn mower. They mow a lot of grass. They've got a lot of wide open space, and in more cases than not, they already have propane on that farm. So if they're a grain customer, most likely they've got a big tank for grain drying, or if they're building heat, whether it's a shop, whether it's a livestock building, they would have propane there as well. So we've got some opportunities there. We're going to try to capitalize on those.
Very good. I was kind of thinking too about the customers that are into dairy or poultry or hogs or whatever have you, anything that's in a kind of an enclosed barn. There's got to be a lot of uses to take your chore tractor, convert it to propane. You'd probably be looking at converting not so much from diesel to propane, but from gas to propane, correct? And again, you could probably order that equipment from the manufacturer. I don't mean propane ready, but ready to accept the equipment. So how would that kind of work, and how would that work in for those farm customers that are into like I said, the livestock side of dairy, hogs, poultry?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think it's that may be one of the more complicated process we talk about today. So let's talk about the livestock people today. Yes, they are using propane. They're heating with it most likely. Well, that's a huge market for us in the propane industry, is that livestock heating. So we know that that's going to happen. When you get into the equipment side of things, we can get into that forklift for sure, and most farms do have forklift around. That's an easy one. We've already talked about that. Mobile ag equipment gets a little complicated. We're dipping our toe into that. We've actually done a project years ago in New Holland on a proof of concept tractor. For those of you listening that have a little age on you, like myself, you probably do remember propane tractors. Those were pretty low technology compared to what we're trying to do today. And I say that because they were straight gasoline conversions, and it was really a financial play. Gasoline was expensive, and they were looking for ways to use a cheaper fuel, which they did. Today's modern engines, it gets a little more complicated. So this proof of concept that we did with New Holland years ago, it was it was just that. It was a proof of concept. The tractor was built. It did move. It did what it was supposed to do. Did it run perfectly? No, it didn't. But there's a lot of computer work at that point in time that we just didn't invest in the time and effort to do it. So one of the things that I do a lot of this time of year, and quite honestly, around the calendar, is think about how we can get back into that space. We would love to do nothing more than have a large scale tractor in the marketplace. And some of the folks that are clamoring for it the most are those commercial mowers who are running multiple hundred zero-turn mowers, and they're also doing roadside mowing. Could be for their state Department of Transportation, that type of thing, or they're just mowing road ditches. But we've got those guys really. Every time that I see them at a show, they want an update on what we're getting done on a tractor, if anything. So we're having as many conversations with the big ones. So I'll just Deere, New Holland, Case, Kubota, those types of folks. We're trying to have meaningful conversations with all those companies and see if we can get the wheels in motion to get that back. So, but back to your question, yes, we could take a gasoline powered tractor. And there are great conversion companies out there that we have EPA certified conversion kits, and I'm sure we can make something like that happen for them.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, and I was kind of more thinking maybe like skid steers, some of the units that are used to move feed around or move manure around, those kind of things, probably would be similar to a forklift conversion.
It really would. Forklifts are great to work on. They've got a lot of space. Skid steers are pretty compact. If you pop the back cover on those things, they're tightly packed in there. So today, I don't know that we've got a great solution, and a lot of those are diesel, so they're compression ignition, and we don't have a great answer on that. But if it runs gasoline, there's a way to figure it out. I can promise that.
Oh, that's great to know. So, as a dealer, if I want to really get into this space, and let's just take, my zero turn business or my small tractor business, most of those would be gasoline powered. Some would be diesel. So diesel's obviously a non-issue or non-product or non-equipment that we could really work with. But if you take a 25 or a 30 or 35 horsepower small tractor or a zero turn or those kind of units that they're if they're in Minnesota or the Dakotas, maybe they're blowing snow with them or whatever they're doing. How would a dealer really get into the propane business? Because there would be obviously local suppliers, conversion companies, but is that something that a dealer could actually get involved with themselves?
I absolutely believe that they could. We deal directly. I deal directly with the folks that are putting the conversion kits together. So they would be the EPA certification holder type company. So those are the folks that I work with. I would reach directly out to one of those companies, have a conversation if that's something you're thinking about or considering. Have a conversation with them. Let them know where you are, what you're thinking of doing, and I can almost assure you that they're going to want to probably come meet you, talk a little bit more about it, and I'd be shocked if they can't work a solution for you to either install it directly. They may stock some parts at your facility or at your location. That's kind of how I would see that going. So absolutely, if it's something you're even considering, you could obviously reach out to me. I can point you towards one of those folks. But yeah, I think that's a perfect thing to do. There's also information and resources on our website, propane.com. If you want to poke around that website just to learn more about the fuel, the emissions, all that stuff. I think that's a great place to start if that's something you're considering as well.
That's pretty much the most perfect URL I think I've ever heard of, propane.com. How
Very
does it
easy.
get more simple than that, right?
That's right.
And so
Yeah.
what about yourself, Mike? What's the best way for a dealer to get a hold of you to if they want to explore a little bit more? What's a great way to reach out to you?
Yeah, you can if you can't remember my email, you can go to propane.com. We've got a staff directory, so you could find me there. But if you want to send me a note directly, my email is michael.newland, Newland, at propane.com. Very simple. Michael.newland at propane.com.
Yeah, and the URL propane.com, like I just said, is probably one of the most ideal website addresses I've ever heard of. Anything else that you're thinking, Mike, that we want to talk about today?
We've got a cool piece of equipment out in California that you will start hearing more about. We've invested in a project somewhat in conjunction with UC Davis over a number of years, and there's finally built a commercial unit. We're injecting steam into agricultural fields using this product. So the unit itself is propelled by an engine that runs on propane and also is burning propane to produce the steam. This will be used in a lot of vegetable areas, vegetable crops. It's out in Salinas, California. Soon it'll be making its way down to Yuma, Arizona for lettuce planting down there. But these units are very neat. We're injecting steam. We're raising soil temperatures up over probably 155 degrees. And they're doing that to control nematodes. We're sterilizing weed seeds. We're really cutting down on a lot of the hand weeding passes that happen in some of those lettuce and strawberry crops out in California and Arizona. So, like I said, we've helped them build the first commercial unit. They think they've got unit number 2 sold and probably unit number 3, maybe short behind it. And these are custom hand built units. They're large. But provide a very vital function. We think it could possibly really change the way vegetables get grown around the country.
Well, that's excellent. Some pretty exciting stuff. And again, for more information for all of our dealers listening in, hit propane.com. And if you want to get a hold of Michael Newland, that would be great. Thanks very much for joining us today. This has been NAEDA Connect, and you have yourself a great afternoon, Michael. Thanks.
Hey, thank you.
This has been NAEDA Connect. If you have a question, would like to suggest future topics, or just tell us what you think about the show, we would love to hear from you. Visit us at naeda.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to NAEDA Connect. Thanks for listening. Until next time.